Hello everyone and welcome back to WZ Sports Day. This is the 7th iteration of Sports Day. It'll be coming at you this time from Hurricane, Utah. 12 players getting involved in this one, including some new faces. We'll be seeing another 3-team event. Those 12 players split among those 3 teams, so it'll be 4 players on each team. There will be more on that, along with the sports you'll be seeing, among other things, coming up in this quick event outline.
Alright, so Utah 2024 event outline. Watchful eyes may notice that this looks very similar to the event outline for LA 2024. That is because it is basically the same format. We once again ran back the 3-team format, and it'll be single round robin, so 3 games per sport. The big thing to notice here is that for the summer we've added a 5th sport, which will be the return of flag football, a sport that has only been in Sports Day once, and it was 2.5 years ago in Phoenix 2022. Now, this sport was actually set to make its return last year in Raleigh 2023, but ended up getting cut from the event due to injuries and time constraints caused by bad weather. However, this time I can assure you, we actually played it, so football will be making its triumphant return in Utah 2024. So that raises the total games each team plays overall from 8 to 10. Other than that, you'll basically be seeing the same format you saw in LA 2024. And now your pool of players for this event. We had 12 total, so it will be 3 teams of 4 players on each team. On the top, you can see the 3-team captains, and they will be picking in that pick order. Below that is the remaining 9 players, all listed in alphabetical order. A couple new faces on the board that are making their WZ Sports Day debuts. There will be more on that later as we get into the specific player profiles and projections. All in all, a pretty strong crop of players featuring noted heavy hitters like Wally, Brawley, and Eirik, among other solid competitors, even including Casper, who hasn't appeared in a WZ Sports Day in 2 years. We're going to hear more about all of these players coming up though, as I will be doing a quick overview of each player in the event, with highlights on screen. These analyses were recorded before the Sports Day took place, so they are genuine predictions and speculation with no knowledge of how the event actually played out. Finally, stay tuned for after these player profiles for some exclusive pre-event captain interviews. We tried out a new interview format that hasn't been done in Sports Day yet, and I think it's some good content, so look forward to that. So the first player to talk about will be the captain with the first overall pick, and that is going to be Anx, captaining the Cyan team. We're running out of new colors to use at this point, but we've got a couple of them in this Sports Day, Cyan being one of them. Assuming nothing goes awry, this is actually going to be Anx's first time playing a Sports Day event in full in a year and a half since Austin 2023. A year ago at Raleigh 2023, he dislocated his shoulder, which sidelined him for not only the rest of that event, but also the following Sports Day in LA 2024 that happened about half a year ago. So Anx is raring to get back into the action after a long Sports Day hiatus. I think the thing I want to touch on most is that when you look at the history of team results in Anx's career, it's a very unusual one. In 4 out of the 5 Sports Days that he's played, his team has gotten last place in the event. However, the remaining event was a first place with Aqua Team in Austin 2023. They went 7-1, so it was one of the most dominant teams we've seen in Sports Day history. A couple more positives to consider. That win was the last time he even played an event in full, and that was also the only event he's been on a team with Wally, who he will have the chance to take with his first overall pick. Important to keep in mind though that the last time Anx was a captain, in Philly 2022, he made some questionable draft decisions that led to the Brown team going 3-12, which is one of the worst performances we've seen in Sports Day. He chose to forego superstar players like Wally and Brawley in favor of opting for the wraparound picks with his first pick priority, and it just didn't pay off. This time, however, he will be taking the first overall pick and will have the chance to have redemption as a captain. Anx as a player, in recent history, has a solid track record in wiffle ball and soccer particularly, where he can definitely help himself out. The other 3 sports, though, are a bit more questionable, where he might need to step up his game or address those weaknesses with his draft picks. We'll have to see where he goes with those picks later. The second player we're going to be talking about is Doobie, captain of the Neon team. He had second pick priority and opted for that second pick, presumably hoping to get one of Wally or Brawly in the process. This is actually Doobie's third appearance as a captain, which makes him the only player in Sports Day history to date to captain 3 times. That being said, it's been a while since he captained last, seeing as it was a year and a half ago in Austin 2023. On the topic of Doobie captaining, one interesting thing to note is that he has seen a lot of success as a captain, with Philly White Team being in the 3-way tie for first, and Austin Aqua taking home a solo victory. Doobie in general has had very good team results overall throughout his career, although he's coming off 2 second-place finishes where his team fell just 1 game short. In previous sports days, I've tended to categorize Doobie as a sort of all-around supportive player, but I think it is worth noting that he has a couple notable weaknesses in sports day, those being wiffle ball and basketball. The wiffle ball hitting, as you can see by the numbers, has not really been there. He has hit pretty well in mini sports day, so I do feel like the potential is there, but we just haven't seen it come out in the official sports day events. We saw him pitch in Austin 2023 to pretty decent results against a potent offense too in Purple Team, but that's the only time we've seen him pitch. How the rest of his team shakes out will likely determine just how much we see him on the mound in Utah. Basketball, he would tell you himself, is not a strength of his, but he certainly is capable of being a supporting piece to a solid team. We've seen him do that before, most notably in Austin 2023 with the Aqua team. Doobie's biggest strength is likely soccer. This would be a good time to note, too, that the 2023 to 2024 soccer stats on all of these stat pages include 2 events of speed soccer, which has very volatile, high offense compared to the regular merged soccer. 17 of Doobie's 18 goals are coming from Austin 2023 speed soccer alone, where he really went nuts. Aside from that, Doobie isn't coming off of one of his better soccer performances or volleyball performances, but we have seen good stuff from him in volleyball before, and I definitely expect a bounce back there. Doobie overall has come close the last couple sports days, but he's going to look to seal the deal this time with Neon Team. The third player we're going to talk about is Haller, captain of the Red Team once again. This is his second captain appearance, the first being 2 years ago in Philly 2022, also on the Red Team. Why his team is the Red Team again? You'll just have to wait and see. Haller had last pick priority in this captain pool, so he was involuntarily left with the wraparound picks. It means that he almost certainly will miss out on Wally and Brawly, and also be left with the last pick overall, so he will have his work cut out for him in this draft. As far as Haller himself goes though, he's coming off a first place finish in LA 2024 with Black Team, his first outright win since the previous Black Team, all the way back at the beginning of 2022 in Phoenix. One thing I think you can say about Haller throughout his career is that he has had notable improvements to his game in several areas through the second half of his career. His wiffle ball hitting in 2023 to 2024 has been among the best in the league, and his soccer performances as well have propelled him to first place in multiple categories. In basketball, scoring points has never really been his top priority. He excels at playing a more point guard style role and supporting his teammates. As you can see, he contributes a lot on the court through assists and rebounds, and also scores efficiently when the situation calls for it. Side note, since this is the first time we're seeing it, this would be a good time to say that the red X under career rank means that the sample size is too small for them to qualify in a rate stat. So in this case, Haller hasn't pitched enough innings or attempted enough 3-point shots to qualify for those leaderboards. On that topic, Haller actually pitched quite well in his last pitching appearance a year ago in Raleigh 2023, so it's possible he could take the mound again. I wouldn't mind him going for more 3-pointers either. He started off his career blistering hot in that category. Volleyball, I would say you can just rely on Haller for pretty consistent performance. He might not necessarily knock your socks off with superstar highlight reel play, but he is very valuable to have on the court. Lastly, I will say football I've neglected to mention in general, just because we are not dealing with much info there. It'll be football's first appearance since 2.5 years ago in Phoenix 2022. Only a few of the players in the lineup even were there for it. In general, though, Haller has historically been almost inarguably a top 5 player in WZ Sports Day, and also one of just 3 remaining players who have played in 6 out of 6 Sports Day events. It'll be business as usual for him. The first pick overall in the draft should come as no surprise. It is going to be Wally, being selected by Anks onto the Cyan team. Wally has been the first pick overall every single sports day that he's been in the player pool, and this one will be no exception. Wally, without a doubt, has the best history of team success in WZ. One look at the screen will tell you that much, but unfortunately he did finally take his first sports day loss in his 5th event, with the blue team in LA 2024 missing out on first by just 1 game. However, a worrying trend it is not, because Wally was without a doubt a front-runner MVP candidate in the event regardless. At this point, wiffle ball might be his best sport, even over basketball, which has historically been his claim to fame. His pitching stats in the second half of his career have frankly been a joke. The last time he even surrendered a run was in Austin 2023, almost 2 years ago. In the last 2 sports day events, he has pitched 12 innings without allowing a single run. This makes facing his team in wiffle a very daunting task, no matter what his offense does, because putting up even 1 run will be a challenge. But to make matters even more dire, he also has an argument as the best hitter in WZ, leading several important offensive categories like batting average and OPS. That being said, when you look at the basketball stats and see all those first places, it's hard to argue against that either. Those are just 2 sports where having Wally alone will completely change your team's outlook in the sport. Apart from that, he's without a doubt one of the best volleyball players in WZ as well, just to less of a game-breaking degree as the previous sports mentioned. Football could very well be a big strength for him too. Whether as a quarterback or receiver, you can likely assume he will be one of the better players there as well. The only sport you can really mark as a potential weakness is soccer, but he makes a solid impact there as well. He's a great defender. We haven't really seen him score much outside of Austin Speed Soccer, but depending on how his team shakes out, he might have more of a chance to try and be an offensive threat this time around. All in all, Wally will reunite with a former teammate in Anks and try to get back to his winning ways with the Cyan team. The second overall pick of the draft will be Brawly, drafted onto the Neon team by Doobie. It's actually Brawly's 3rd time being on a team with Doobie, so they are very familiar as teammates by now. Once again, Brawly will be the 2nd pick of the draft behind Wally, a seat he is also very familiar with. But in the most recent sports day, he finally got the better of him, taking home his first solo sports day win with the black team. Brawly, despite just having gotten that first sports day win, has still had a very solid team history, bottoming out at 2nd place and having that Philly tie first on his resume as well. Since Philly, where he was almost certainly the MVP, he's been an MVP candidate in every sports day that he's played, so you can almost pencil him in for that here as well. Brawly is a dominant force in basketball, really along with Wally, in a tier separated from the rest of WZ, and I think the sport where I like him the most is actually volleyball, where I think he is the best volleyball player in WZ. He's also coming off a breakout soccer event where he led the league in goals with 13, even over heavy hitter soccer players like Eirik. Then, like Wally, even though we haven't seen him play football, it can pretty much be assumed that he will be a force to be reckoned with there as well. The only place that you can really circle as a concern is wiffle ball. A big reasoning for that is that he doesn't really pitch in wiffle ball and opts to leave those duties to his other team members. The event we saw him pitch the most was in Philly 2022. We had very noticeable control issues and walked a ton of batters. Overall in wiffle ball though, his bat is solid. It hasn't necessarily been elite, but he has been productive, and he plays really great defense in the field as well, which is an underrated aspect of the game. Brawley's general speed and athleticism will help him out all over the board, where he has some of the best stamina in WZ as well. Adding that onto his general great sports ability makes him a very threatening presence in this event. The last time Brawley was paired up with Doobie, they weren't quite able to get the job done, so he'll be looking to rectify that on the Neon team and see if he can go back to back. The third overall pick in the draft will be Eirik, selected by Haller onto the red team. It's the first time these two have been teammates since the last red team, which was 2 years ago in Philly. Eirik is a really interesting case. He's actually the first player we've talked about thus far who does not have a solo sports day win. By this point with the regular players, it's actually a pretty small group. For players who have played in at least 2 sports day events, it's just Aiden, Bobby, RCP, Spec, and Eirik himself who are still looking for that first sports day win. What I will say is this though. Eirik was involved in that 3-way tie for first in Philly 2022 with Red Team, a team that went a very solid 9-6 overall. So now on the Red Team once again with Haller, and potentially another former Red Team player, maybe Eirik will be able to rekindle some of that success from back then. None of this is to say, though, that Eirik has been a bad player. I mean, he's getting picked this high for a reason. He's certainly not the main reason that Teal got third, or that White got last place most recently. He's been a solid performer. Most notably, soccer is his claim to fame, where he's basically unanimously considered the best soccer player in WZ. Team-wise, he has had more struggles with it as of the last couple sports days, taking a loss both in Raleigh and in LA, whereas prior to those events, teams Eirik played on were 5-0 in soccer. Now it's 8-2, which is still pretty good if you ask me, but he's not unbeatable in soccer by any means. That said, Haller is another top soccer player in WZ to pair with and makes a really strong core for Red Team in that sport. Outside of that, Eirik has been making strides in basketball for sure. If you look at his first half career numbers, they are frankly absolutely dreadful, and to see the respectable numbers he's put up since then is encouraging for sure. I was most impressed in LA by his staggering amount of rebounds and steals. I think Eirik is really solid in volleyball too. The most recent event is the only one where his team has struggled in the sport, but I think he still played fine and is generally one of the better volleyball players in WZ. The biggest concern for me is wiffle ball, where he has never really been able to get on base at a good clip, but has had good power numbers to kind of offset that. But the power numbers are starting to dip while the on-base struggles have stayed the same, so definitely an area of concern there. All in all, I think Eirik definitely deserves a sports day win, but he will have to work for it this time around, as the playing field is very strong. The fourth overall pick in the draft, selected by Haller in the wraparound onto Red Team, will be TK. Third person warning and apologies as always. The Sports Day Commissioner and a veteran, needless to say, TK is one of just 3 players remaining who have played in every Sports Day to date. And with this pick, you can now understand why this team decided to go with Red Team. It has all 3 members of the core from the Philly 2022 Red Team. Haller, Eirik, and TK will reunite, hoping to finish with a solo first this time instead of a 3-way tie. As far as TK goes, he started off his Sports Day career on a very high note, being the only player to win the first 2 Sports Day events and being in that tie first in Philly. But when you look at the second half, that has come to an end, and it's now been a whopping 2 years since TK has had that taste of victory. As far as individual performances go, there hasn't exactly been a steep fall-off contributing to that lack of second half success, but it is worth noting that TK's peak was Philly 2022, where he was an MVP candidate. In the 3 events since, I think it's more fair to say that TK has been a middle to upper middle of the pack player, and that just hasn't been enough to get the job done. The most encouraging part of TK's second half has definitely been basketball, where he has upped his scoring numbers, having his best basketball performance in Raleigh 2023. On the flip side, the wiffle ball hitting has gotten much more inconsistent. He's still been able to hit for power well, but the on-base ability is starting to decline. we also didn't see TK pitch in a sports day for the first time in LA 2024, also coming off a rough pitching performance the previous event in Raleigh 2023. So on a team where TK will likely be the main pitcher, where his pitching ability lands will likely be critical for his team in the sport. Soccer has been solid, but I think that TK is generally better in merged soccer than speed soccer, which will be the format featured in this event. That being said, with the team being himself, Haller, and Eirik, I don't think soccer is likely to be a big concern. Volleyball has seen a decline as well, notably having a rough performance in Raleigh 2023, but a solid bounce-back performance most recently in LA would imply that he'll probably be just fine in the sport. One of the few to compete in the only sports day football that we've seen, but not too much to conclude off of that information. Like Eirik, TK's last successful team was Philly 2022 Red Team, so we will see if the Red Team version 2 is just what TK needs to find that success again. The 5th overall pick in the draft will be King, selected by Doobie onto the Neon team. Surprisingly enough, this is actually the first time Doobie and King have been teammates, despite the both of them playing in so many sports day events together. King is the last of the 3 players who have competed in every sports day to date, along with TK and Haller. And King finally got that solo sports day win he was waiting for in LA 2024, off of the back of his best overall performance to date, where he was an MVP candidate. King has really been on the up and up lately, coming off an event in Raleigh where he was at least a top 5 player, followed by an event in LA where he was even better and probably a top 2 player. King's stock is definitely at the highest it's ever been. Despite that, King might still be getting picked lower than he should have here, so we could still see that stock going even higher. I think most notably, King's volleyball performance in LA 2024 was probably the best single sports day volleyball performance that we've seen. It was really that good. And not only that, but he also played his best basketball we've seen too, scoring a whopping 6.50 points per game, trouncing his previous PR, which was 2.67 per game. These improvements are definitely reflected in his huge difference in stats from his first half to second half, particularly in basketball, but in volleyball and wiffle ball as well. As a hitter, King had the highest OPS in the league in both Austin 2023 and Raleigh 2023. He is coming off of an event where he struggled at the plate, but he was facing Wally and Joseph pitching and still ended up hitting a crucial home run for his one and only hit of the event. The batting average and on base might not necessarily be where you want it to be, but he is a great hitter nonetheless. The pitching has been getting better too, which isn't really reflected here because his second half numbers are blown up by a rough outing in Austin 2023, but since then he has been pitching great. Then finally, even soccer, which has historically been his biggest weak point by a lot, he was able to play a really solid goalie in LA 2024 and was a big part of Black Team going 2-0, including a big upset win over White. Speaking of Black Team, King will also be reuniting with Brawley on this team, who he paired up with very well in their LA 2024 victory. I expect that to be the case here as well, as King will look to keep building on the success he's found in the last couple sports days. So now moving on to the 6th overall pick of the draft, now Anks with 2 wraparound picks, the first of which will be Casper onto the Cyan team. Casper finally making his sports day return here. It's been 2 years since his last sports day, which was Philly 2022. It's just the second sports day that he's played ever, so naturally there will be a lot of question marks surrounding him. His one and only sports day, he did land in that 3-way tie for first in Philly with the Orange team. On that Orange team, he was also teammates with Wally, who he will once again be teammates with in this event. I think adding Casper to this team makes them even more scary in basketball. Having Wally is already good enough, but Casper's best sport is expected to be basketball, and I think he will pair up very well with Wally in that sport. He probably didn't do as well in basketball as he would have liked to in Philly, but he did have a great 3-point shot. I think one big pleasant surprise for Casper and Philly was his wiffle ball hitting ability. The OPS numbers ended up below average because of his lack of power, but he was really great at getting on base. His .692 on base percentage is still first on the career leaderboards, albeit in a pretty small sample, just enough to qualify. If he can repeat that success, then Cyan's wiffle ball offense is looking pretty good too. Volleyball, he played just one game in Philly, to not great success, but I think if he has more time to settle in, we could see better things from him there this time around. I also think football could be a sport he excels in, maybe even his second best sport behind basketball. All in all, seeing how the other two teams have shaken out, soccer will definitely be an area of concern for this team. It's unclear what kind of role Casper will play in soccer, but he and the Cyan team will have their work cut out for them against some very strong soccer teams. That aside, Casper will finally be getting back into the action here in Utah and will be looking to continue off the success he had the first time around. With the second of two wraparound picks, with the 7th overall pick in the draft, Angst will select Larry onto the Cyan team. Larry has played his fair share of sports days and has actually been teamed up with Angst a couple times, unfortunately to not great success in either instance. Larry actually has a kind of similar career history to Angst too, where he has that one sports day win, but his team's gotten last place in all 3 other cases. In his case, the win came at the very start of his career with Red Team in Atlanta 2021, and it unfortunately went downhill since. Regarding Larry individually, he definitely has his share of strengths, one of which should be football, which is re-entering the fold. I haven't talked about football a lot in these analyses, but Larry is definitely one player where I think it's very relevant. He was a very good receiver in football in Phoenix 2022, and I think he will be poised to do that again, with a lot of stamina to boot. All of the other sports unfortunately have had their fair share of ups and downs. I think he is a solid wiffle ball player all around. The hitting hasn't been great, but he will give you competitive at-bats and get on base a fair share, while playing elite defense in the field. I think one interesting wiffle ball tidbit is that, despite the fact that he has 0 career home runs in Sports Day in 39 plate appearances, in the most recent mini Sports Day, he hit 4 home runs in just 17 plate appearances, 2 against TK and 2 against King, who coincidentally are the projected starting pitchers for the other 2 teams in this event. Could be a good sign of things to come for Larry in wiffle ball this time around. Basketball has certainly been rough for Larry the last couple events, but another case where I liked what I saw from him in mini Sports Day, and it could be big for him if he could bring some of that into this Sports Day event. Soccer and volleyball have been a struggle for him. I think his best role in soccer would probably be to play goalie, since he has not done too well on the field. Volleyball, he just needs to get a handle on his receiving, as it was pretty off the last 2 events he played in. With all of Larry's concerns, you can definitely dream on a lot of upside, and I think that this is a very valuable spot to land him in the draft. Larry will look for a positive turnaround on the Cyan team. With the 8th pick of the draft, Doobie will select Sydney onto the Neon team. Sydney is the first woman to ever play in a WZ Sports Day event, which is honestly something I never thought I'd say. We've certainly come a long way. For some context, Sydney is Brawley's girlfriend, so presumably a big part of why Doobie selected her is for that synergy. Sydney is the first of 2 newcomers into WZ Sports Day in this event, and for both of those players, there obviously isn't really going to be much I can say. All I can really say is what I've heard, which is that Sydney's best sport will likely be soccer, and that she does not feel confident in her wiffle ball or basketball abilities. Wiffle ball, especially with how the pitching has evolved in WZ, is not a super welcoming sport to newcomers, so I can definitely understand that one. And with a sport like basketball, she might have problems with the physicality because she has a smaller build to most of the players. That being said, she is said to have a lot of stamina, which will come in handy in just about every sport. We'll be looking forward to seeing how Sydney does on the Neon team. With the 9th and final pick of the draft, Haller will select Evan onto the Red team. Hinted to it while talking about Sydney, there is one other Sports Day newcomer in this event, and it will be Evan. For context, once again, Evan is Irik's significant other, and coincidentally ends up landing on Irik's team. Evan will be the new addition to Red Team version 2, a spot that belonged to Nee in the Philly rendition. Again, not too much I can say in this case, but Irik has given some insider info on what he expects Evan's strengths to be. Evan apparently has some experience playing basketball and volleyball, so those are what I would circle as his expected strengths. On the flip side, similar to what I said for Sydney, I do think he might have a bit of struggles in wiffle ball due to the fiercity of the pitching, particularly from Wally. But we will just have to wait and see. Evan will look to have a fun first sports day event, joining Irik and the rest of the Red Team.
Welcome everyone to the interviews for the captains of WZ Sports Day Utah 2024. We've got all three of our captains here, one for each team, for a brand new interview format, new to this iteration of Sports Day. So we will be going through
What's that?
and asking...
I already know. I don't want to play anymore. Like, what's that?
I'm
Will you zoom in on that?
camera.
Alright.
We're gonna start things off here with a simple question for all three of you. Just feel free to jump in whenever with your opinion. Which team, and you can include your own here, do you think is rank 1?
Cyan.
No way.
What is that? What is that? What is that? That's Mafia.
100%.
That's Mafia.
What team is rank 1? You have to answer that?
Yeah.
I just this. We literally lose the Mafia game if you don't pick this.
They're automatic 6-0.
I think
Hello?
it's us.
Oh!
I think it's
Okay,
us.
cockiness.
That's just.
No, I think you guys are better than you think you are. I honestly do.
Do you even know the sports we're playing?
Yes.
No, I don't.
This is either going to age very well or like...
It might age terribly.
They're 6-0. 6-0 guaranteed. They start 6-0.
Also important to note, none of these three voted for the Neon team, so look out for them as the dark horse of the event. Not even,
That's actually
not
by
even
a lot.
their own
That's
captain.
actually yeah, that's by a lot.
That's by a lot.
They're actually gonna win.
Which jersey do you think is rank 1?
This one by a lot. This one by a lot.
Okay. Alright. That's your answer, Pearl?
Yeah.
Doobie, what's your
Hey,
answer?
you
Right
look
here.
good, but that
Right
means
here.
you look worse.
Okay.
Let's try.
No.
Alright. I mean, I love mine. Like, it's pretty rank 1.
Trash.
But this is also pretty rank 1.
Yes.
But this is fucking terrible.
What? Okay, no, first of all, that's terrible.
No.
These
that's rank last.
No.
That is right.
That's
Oh, okay.
No. It's so
See, okay,
sweet.
I will say this
Wow.
one.
Look at this
This one looks
blue.
nuts. I just don't like the fish
I'm
scales.
so loud.
Like you're literally a fish.
I agree, but it's still rank 1.
But the colors are fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one's
And
nuts. I just don't make it look nuts.
This actually turned out better.
If
than
I was Brawling
This is-
05,
this
this
is really
would look
good.
like
This
rank
is
1.
really good. But I love
But-
mine too, so.
That's probably worse, like below.
That's
Aqua.
actually terrible.
That's below Aqua in the
That's
overall
actually-
tier.
That's below Crimson.
That's below. That's below like.
So now we're going to move on to some individualized questions for
Sheesh.
each of the different captains. We're going to start in the middle here with Doobie, the captain of the Neon team. This is a bit of a personal question about your own experience in speed soccer specifically. So in your first experience in speed soccer, you scored 17 goals, were absolutely rank 1, led the league by a lot. But your second time in speed soccer, you scored 0 goals. So my question is, how are you feeling about speed soccer this time around? We're going to be seeing a similar format. How do you think you're going to do?
I think it's gonna be way better. I think I know what I did wrong the first time, or the second time. So I don't think I'm gonna repeat it again. I mean, I don't think I'll get 17 again, like against a good lineup, but yeah, I think it's gonna go way
What
better.
did you do wrong?
I just took way too many hard challenges.
I'll say, let me say, I was on his team in Austin.
I agree with that. I was
That's-
saying that earlier
that's all I'm
today.
saying.
I was saying that earlier
That's all
today,
I'm saying.
actually.
Yeah.
This guy literally carried solo.
Yeah.
He would have won with.
I
I mean, no, cut that out. Cut that out. Cut that out. Please, please, please.
Yeah, bleep it.
Yes. Yeah, bleep it.
Oh, that's so good.
Yeah, I think it'll go better. But this
Okay, next up is going to be Angst, captain of the Cyan team. I've got a personal question for you as well about a different sport, however, it'll be about wiffle ball.
Cool.
So you have 49 career plate appearances in
Yeah,
wiffle ball.
I do.
And 0 home runs.
Oh
Do
yes.
you plan to try and hit one this event, or are you going to keep that same approach of yours?
I mean, brr. Okay, let me tell you. I'm rank 1 on base for a reason. I mean, I'm not rank 1, but I'm basically rank 1. I'm basically rank 1. So that needs to continue for my teammates in order for them to score. You know, it's not my job to get the home run. Okay, it is my job to get on the damn base so that my teammate can get the home run, and I'll run the fuck in. How about that?
I do have to tell you, however, that Casper and Larry both also have 0 career home runs. How do you feel about that?
That is a very interesting statistic to be learning.
Do you want it though? Like, is there any part of you that wants it?
Do I want a home run? Absolutely. Yeah. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to fucking go for a full swing. Like, I don't know.
You have to switch on.
You know what? If you
machine
get a
start.
homer this event, $20.
40.
Oh!
Oh.
Wait, what?
Wait, like double the 20 or just 60 overall?
Yeah, 60 overall.
Whoa! You're
Okay, so they're
I
trying
just
to
want to see if
they're
they
trying to bait me with money in order to swing the ball.
Swing a ball?
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
What is
That's what I
that?
mean.
Unbelievable.
No, I just
That's what I
want
mean.
to. I just
Okay.
want to see the homer.
This is
Wait,
some good
do you even
strategy.
have a homer?
This is some good strategy.
You want
You know,
to
22,
Doobie doesn't
22,
either.
20 for you too.
So the last person I've got an individualized question for is going to be Howler, captain of the red team. This one's going to be about basketball. So to start your career, you had a very impressive 3-point percentage, and then you kind of stopped going for them. However, you started taking some more the last sports day. Do you plan to continue the 3-point attempts in basketball?
Yeah, I actually do plan on taking more threes again this event. My threes are very inconsistent, even in mini sports day and regular sports day, so I'm gonna probably fail out a couple too, because I already ruined my goddamn percentage, so I don't care about that anymore. So, yep, I'll go for it, and I might win or I might lose off of it. It's worth it.
You care a lot.
Yeah, he cared a lot, and then he
I did
finally
care a
woke
lot,
up.
yeah.
He became woke. Thank God.
Well, I mean, I already knew I wasn't the best, but it just looked shiny. It was the only stat I had. Now I have 0.
So the next question, we are going to go back to all 3. Once again, and this one, in fact, will be on the count of 3. You will be all saying your answer at the same time. So this is what you think your team's best sport is.
Wait, I'm not ready.
So tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, because there's too many. Back to the other one, by the way.
Yeah.
If he's
Okay,
counting
okay,
them all,
okay,
he's
okay.
counting
I'm ready,
all
I'm ready,
the
I'm ready,
guaranteed 2-0s.
I'm ready.
Are you guys ready?
Unreal.
to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Soccer.
Okay, so let's now go down the line to clarify.
Soccer.
Doobie.
Volleyball.
Football.
Alright, so I'm gonna get some reasoning on everyone. I'm most curious about Doobie's answer of volleyball for me on that walk here. Your reasoning for that choice.
I just think we have three good players. I know it's gonna be 4v4. Yeah, it might be 4v4, so that might change a bit. But I know we have a really strong soccer team, but as soon as every time Irick's on the field, he just solo carry. So I feel like there is a possibility to lose there. It's not necessarily the best, and I think it's just a strong team.
Thank you.
And then I don't think we're I mean, obviously we're strong at basketball, very strong, but again, it's just Wally could just solo carry, so it's still losable.
So how I think your answer is pretty self-explanatory, but we'll get some quick thoughts on your answer of soccer as well.
Yeah, we already had the same core of group on the first red team in soccer, and we 3-0'd uncompetitively. This time it's only 2 games instead of 3, which is kind of easier, should be. With probably the same competition, if not maybe even easier. So we should, but I could see us losing to actually this team because they've got a lot of garlic.
Not after today. To be honest.
What do you mean?
Right up
You have infinite garlic, you just
Maybe
don't have a sack.
But if I don't have a sack, then
Yeah.
Well, I'm
Someone
sure
have
your
a
sack
sack.
will grow a little bit in sports day.
Okay.
Alright.
Alright, and finally, Anx, I presume you had a tough decision as there are 3 sports where your team is very talented in my opinion. Which
Interesting.
I would name as wiffle ball, basketball, and football.
Oh,
so tell me
fuck.
why you chose.
Oh yeah, there's one that he wasn't thinking of in his calculation.
I low-key forgot about Wiffle.
That's the most guaranteed.
Okay, it might be
given up a
Wiffle.
goddamn run.
It might be Wiffle.
In 10 events. It might be.
It might be Wiffle, but I think football's pretty good too. Because I think Wally's like, you know, Wally's a good thrower, like in general, and like I think he's gonna be a good QB. And then we have fucking Laura and Casper. Like, hello, those guys are nuts at catching. I think so. I just thought that might be rank 1, but that might be a misplay. It might be Wiffle because Wally pitching is stupid.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Not much of a change. You know the drill here. The next question is going to be the same question except worst sport. On the count of 3. Are you all ready?
I'm
for
ready.
Your sport?
A lot.
Yeah.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Go.
Football.
Wiffle.
Okay. So once again, I'm most interested in the Neon team answer. Why do you think the Neon team's worst sport is wiffle ball?
Is the trash?
You agree?
Okay.
Oh yeah.
I don't trust my pitching.
You guys should beat us.
Honestly, I don't trust I honestly think we just don't have enough hitting power. Like, yes,
What?
we have King. but
Oh wait,
Wally,
you
I
have
think-
King. Oh my god.
Yes. We have
You're gonna
King.
hit your first home run, you said.
Yes. But it won't matter.
Oh my god, I thought you have King.
So you have 10 LeBrons.
But I'm literally, but I'm literally like the worst hitter in the fucking league right now, and I could make that change, but I still feel like I'm trash. Like until I put in results, I don't want to like say that I can turn it around, and then I don't think Squid's ever played Wiffle, right? So it's like guaranteed like our offense has to be like way better. We can't just rely on King to hit like 10 homers, and then we don't really have Wally pitching, so
We don't
like,
either,
what are we
though.
gonna do?
What about
Yeah,
our game?
I know, but
Like,
you guys
can-
I think are generally stronger.
It's a close game, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, like last time, I'm going to go to the self-explanatory one. Some quick thoughts on your choice of soccer as your team's worst sport.
Oh yeah. No, that's just obvious. What? Like we have 0 out of 0 soccer players.
What about yourself?
I'm not a soccer player.
You just said you carried it off.
By a lot. Yeah, but set up. No, that's 0 out of 0. And no, we're versus Dilk, Howler, TK. That's bullshit. And then we have Doobie, Brawly, Squid, and King. King's in the goal. But yes, no, both those are breakaway, and we have rank last. Yeah, obviously.
Howler, I actually forgot what your choice was.
Football.
All right. So some thoughts on your football. choice.
Yeah, I think our whole team agrees that football is probably our weakest sport. The main problem is, well, there's 2 big problems. We don't really have an established quarterback. We did some drills today, which for the first time as a team, which did make me feel worse about the sport. But on top of that, like our other biggest issue is that our competition is also super strong. Like one team with Brawly that can just probably solo carry, and one team with Wally that can solo carry. So that's just a terrible matchup for us. On top of like none of us being mains, and then on top of Brawly and Wally, they have better like help than we do. Like Larry popped the fuck off last time we played football, and so did King, and they're both on Brawly and Wally's teams respectively. So like both of the teams are just stacked, and we're just fucking, this sport should be canceled. Yeah.
I do agree.
Thank
It
you.
should be
Thank
canceled.
you. Oh,
Okay,
I agree.
same,
Wait,
same.
wait, what if the 3 gentlemen...
Oh well, no. I mean, I can't do that.
I've got another question for all 3. This one will not be a 3-2-1. Just kind of jump in with your thoughts. What are your thoughts on indoor volleyball happening for the first time? How do you think it will impact the play?
I need a trip to Dick's Sporting Goods right now. I need knee pads. That's performance-enhancing drugs,
Yeah.
and it should be allowed.
Wait, what about drugs?
It's kind of true.
I mean, I'm excited for indoor to see what... I feel like it's like, we don't know what we're expecting yet. Like, there's a lot of things that could happen, and I'll be like, oh, wow, I didn't think of that, but that just happened. I was talking today, like, there might be a lot more spiking, because jumping on sand Most people play barefoot is like way harder than just jumping with shoes on hardwood floors. So
Didn't hear many thoughts out of you, Doobie, in that question. You got anything to add?
Not really. I mean,
you
the
were
only
too low.
difference is that we can't slide, like we can't dive as much. You're
That's-
just gonna be faster anyways than on sand. And I know like on sand I'm like way slower, and that causes me to dive more often than I should.
So then that brings us to the final question here. Just any final thoughts on this sports day, just in general?
I mean, I don't care about the sports day, but we need to extract our 50 from this guy.
Yeah, agreed.
Like ASAP.
Yeah, this sports day is gonna be forfeit.
Yeah, I'm glad we got it indoor.
thank
It's
you.
gonna be. I think it's gonna be a fun one. Like actually,
Oh no, Whipple's gonna suck.
well, yeah, it's very hot out here.
And
Yeah.
football.
Yeah,
Everything
the
will
2
suck.
outdoor sports are gonna suck, but it's cool that we got a lot of sports indoor. So that's gonna be fun. I think it will be fun. I think it's pretty evenly matched, other than the automatic 6-0.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I agree that it's evenly matched. I think for sure it should be a fun one.
Yeah,
No
I don't think there's like any blatant team that's like really bad.
that's
I
true.
agree-
I think that's
agree
the
with that.
bigger.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
With that
I
as
agree.
well.
Yeah, that's like the bigger. Yeah. That's
I mean, any one for them for sure.
Thank you for the interviews, everybody. And good luck in the sports day event. And thank you to King. A big round of applause to our cameraman King for connecting
Hey,
with interviews as
hey.
well.
Attaboy, Kingler. Let's fucking go.
And GG's.
And GG's.
The best interview of all time.
That was very, very good.
So that is going to do it for this introductory video. Thank you if you've stuck around this long. In the next video, we're going to kick off WZ Sports Day Utah 2024 with the first sport of the event, which this time will be speed soccer. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a good one. See you then.